pathetic noise, and Anthony said with a shrug of shoulder, well, he was bound to do that, wasn't he? It doesn't follow that well. It doesn't mean anything. They naturally want to get hold of your cousin, innocent or guilty. Which do you think he is, Mr. Gillingham? Said Kelly, looking at him steadily. Mark, it's absurd, said Bill impetuously. Bill's loyal, you see, Mr. Kelly, and you owe no loyalty to anyone concerned. Exactly, so perhaps I might be too frank. Bill had a drop down on the grass, and Kelly took his place on the seat and sat there heavily, his elbows on his knees, his chin on his hands, gazing at the ground. I want you to be quite frank, he said at last. Naturally, I am prejudiced where Mark is concerned, so I want to know how my suggestion strikes you who have no prejudices either way. Your suggestion? My theory that if Mark killed his brother, it was purely accidental, as I told the inspector. Bill looked up with interest. You mean that Robert did the hold up business? He said. And there was a bit of struggle, and the revolver went off, and then Mark lost his head and bottled the sort of idea. Exactly. Well, that seems all right. He turned to Anthony. There is something wrong with that. Is there? Is there? It's the most natural explanation to anyone who knows Mark. Anthony pulled at his pipe. I suppose it is. He said slowly, but there is one thing that worries me rather. What's that? Bell and Kelly asked the question simultaneously. The key. The key, said Bill. Kelly lifted his head and looked up at Anthony. What about the key? He asked. Well, there may be nothing in it. I just wondered, suppose Robert was killed, as you say, and suppose Mark lost his head and thought of nothing but getting away before anyone could see him. Well, very likely he would lock the door and put the key in his pocket. He would do it without thinking, just to gain a moment's time. Yes, that's what I would suggest. It seems sound enough, said Bill, sort of thing you would do without thinking. Besides, if you are going to run away, it gives you more of chances. Yes, that's all right if the key is there, but suppose it isn't there. The suggestion made is if it were already an established fact started them both. They looked at him wonderingly. What do you mean? Said Kelly. Well, it's just a question of where people happen to keep their keys. You go up to your bedroom, and perhaps you like to lock your door in case anybody comes wandering in when you have only got one sock and a pair of braces on. Well, that's natural enough, and if you look around the bedrooms of almost any house, you will find the keys already, so that you can lock yourself in the moment notice. But downstairs people don't lock themselves in. It's really never done at all. Bill, for instance, has never locked himself into the dining room in order to be alone with the sherry. On the other hand, all women, and particularly servants, have horror of burglars, and if a burglar gets in by the window, they like to limit his activities to that particular room. So they keep the keys on the outside of doors and lock the doors when they go to bed. He knocked the ashes out of pipe and added, "At least my mother always used." "You mean," said Bill excitedly, "that the key was on the outside of the door when Mark went into the room?" "Well, I just wondering. Have you noticed the other rooms, that billiard room and library and so on?" said Kelly. "I have only just thought about it while I have been sitting out here." "You live here, haven't you ever noticed them?" Kelly said, considering with his head on one side. "It seems rather absurd, but I can't say that I have." He turned to Bill. "Have you?" "Good Lord, no, I shouldn't never worry about a thing like that." "I'm sure you won't," laughed Anthony. "Well, we can have a look when we go in. If other keys are outside, then one was probably outside too, and in that case, well, it makes more interesting." Kelly said nothing. Bill chewed a piece of grass